Hello friends, welcome back for Bitcoin Technical Analysis with me, your pal Rocky Outcrop. Let's take a look at the current price, shall we, just before we dive into the charts, and it's 7,275. So thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate you spending the time with me here today looking at the Bitcoin prices, and if you hit like on the video, then I think you're the best person ever. Of course, actually when it comes to this whole hitting like on videos thing, I used to wonder myself, is it going to then just be on some list somewhere all the time that I have to look at? And to be honest with you, I couldn't tell you where you have to go and find where you've hit all the videos where you've hit like on. I don't know, it's somewhere on YouTube, I guess, probably, but it doesn't invade your list, I don't think. I don't know. Anyway, here we are looking at the prices, and we've got a couple of questions to ask. Are we going to ever make it above the 7,450 level? Are we ever going to make it below the 7,000? Well, of course, the answer to both of those is yes, but are we going to make it? Are we going to go below this 50% retrace here that we've come up above? Or are we going to make it up to the next 50% retrace area? If there was two areas to sort of be having a question mark about currently in terms of where the price is going, and let's just have a quick review of where we are overall at the minute, and we're in this part of this overall upward trend. On the daily chart going back to March the 13th, but we've come up to this point here with a lot less sort of conviction, you could say, than we came down here. If you just in terms of looking at the candles alone and the sort of the shapes of them and the way that it panned out on the way down, there's less of this sort of volatility that we've had, like for instance over here on the 20th of March, where you saw a big candle which was just a doji with wicks either side of it, or the sort of the 1st and 2nd of April period of time where you saw the same sort of a deal kind of was spread out over a couple of days. And this sort of a thing, on the way up, where we've had targets in mind towards the top side, but we've just kind of touched them and then rushed away from them thereafter, and then slowly kind of crept up to the next level and then said, okay, let's go for it, and then it's done the same sort of thing. So are we doing the same sort of thing just now, where we're approaching this area of horizontal resistance at 7,400 and asking questions about it, and not doing it with a great deal of conviction at all, but just going to keep doing the same sort of thing as we were before? Or could we drop down, and what are we looking at just now? So I thought we'd start off here with just a sort of a quick shout out then, I suppose, to the MACD. If the prices were to drop down, by the way, and this to become a local high on the daily, then the MACD would have that divergence that we were talking about in previous episodes. So that would be your bearish sort of scenario there. And on the RSI, you can see the previous high over here to here. There's no divergence. The stochastics, the same sort of setup, and the DMI in the meantime is actually just been coming up and looking quite good. Overall, if this white line could turn around here, that would be quite positive. But mind you, if this just keeps going down the way, and we could then see this unravel and come back down the words as well, because it's below 20 currently, and the strength of this trend hasn't been very good. In fact, we've come all the way up here while not having a really positive strength of trend here on the DMI for the bullish side of things. So we're finding ourselves here. So I thought we'd go down to the 2 hour then and get rid of all those oscillators again, and just take a look here with a wee bit sort of stretched out, so that you can have a little chatty watty about whether or not this here is some sort of triangle, and just sort of taking a sort of real brief and easy sort of not getting too hung up on the detail side of things here, line going down and just going with that. Okay, look, right, we've got some sort of triangle here. It's more or less a symmetrical effort, and this is typical, when we're sort of flagging after having had a rise up of sorts. We've not got a bull flag, so to speak, really, in terms of the shape of this thing, just yet, but over the next few days, if ultimately it starts to channel down the way or sideways, then that's what could be looking at if we don't get any movement here on this thing. But as it stands, with it drawn in like this, it looks like we'd be getting some sort of soon. So because we come quite towards the end of what we've had to do over this, and this is bearing in mind this is just a 2 hour time frame, you're not talking about a great deal of time. And where would the measured moves off the back of something like this take us? And let's just not be too sort of picky about it. Stick it in there and come out, zoom out a wee bit again, I suppose. Let's go up to the 24 hours just so we can look at these sort of rough targets here, and stick this on with the triangle. So let's just say, you know, on the towards the upside, you've got the sort of 5,600 or the 7,600 area where you've got this 50% retrace line in that. It's being your sort of next upward side target after the blue horizontal line, as we knew. And towards the downside, you've got the same sort of deal with the 50% retrace, which is just coming up, and then 382 thereafter at 6,950. And you know that's sort of the kind of been the question that we've been asking over the last wee while. You know, we've got these crucial areas in the market, I suppose you could say, previously in terms of pivot areas, and such as the 6,900 area, and 6,850 is what we were kind of calling it at the time. And you know, once we'd made it past that area, that's great, and it could then operate as quite good support and be part of an overall trend where you see sort of a higher low coming in at, and it could come down there, and that could all just sort of be natural as part of the this overall upward trend, looking at in terms of the daily time frame going back just, you know, a couple of weeks. And then if that were to happen, then sure, then maybe you just continue on up afterwards. If we go up again, like this, just looking at the shape of things, you know, it's sort of we're just stepping up here without any sort of downwards, like, you know, any real lows coming in, and it's kind of getting a little bit sort of extended over that sort of period of time. But you know, that's just the way things are currently, and in the world, looking at the sort of traditional markets, just to get a sort of little insight into things, you know, we see that we've had this upward growth here. That's been like great, I suppose, but you know, at the same time, we're still looking at having done 10 years of sort of downward price action in the space of just a handful of weeks, really going back from sort of February to March there. We really came down so far that you know, that there's still a lot of weakness in the market there, really. Sort of first quarter earnings are going to all be quite rubbish. Second quarter earnings will be quite rubbish, not for Disney with Disney Plus and whatever, but for you know, most companies. You could be seeing things like, you know, other stuff happening that'll give the economy just little sort of kicks, you know, like when's JC Penney's going to get liquidated? You know, when is that going to happen? Because sure as hell aren't loads of people just, you know, rambling around the shops picking up rubbish they don't need at the minute, and giving each other coronavirus. And if there are in areas, then maybe those areas are yet to be struck with the coronavirus, in which case we'll still see the knock-on effects from that. So are we ready to say that we sort of, you know, that the effects of that are properly baked in, and to be able to sort of be convinced by that quite yet? It's hard to sort of rationalize that when we know that a lot of this has been sort of propelled by economic stimulus in the face of like nobody walking around JC Penney's. You know, it's just kind of hard to know. So that's where we find ourselves, and over the next wee while, this is what we can look for in terms of move. And does that dictate where things are going in general? Not necessarily. But if we do break down below the 6,850 area again, then we could be looking down to 6,450, and if we get up above this 7,600 area of the back of measured move here, then we could be looking up towards the 8,000. And if we look towards the 8,000s, quick reminder yet again is that we have this general area here to be filled in on the CME charts, which starts in at around 8,200 or so. So if prices go up in terms of spot prices to like 8,150, then perhaps you could be looking at some sort of gap fill coming up in the near future, and how things would be lining up there on the CME charts, and whether or not there actually is that motivation to do it, or just go up there close to there, getting everybody excited about something, and then, you know, that provide liquidity to people who are looking to short it again. And I don't know. Anyway, open interest and all the rest of it staying sort of more or less stable over the last wee while, and volume overall decreasing, which I've hidden. Pardon me. I can put these moving averages back on. I guess I removed the volume from the chart there. Right. So yeah, and of course, volume's still decreasing over this sort of longer term period that we've been going on the way up, and as you'd expect over the last few days, there's been consolidating in this area. It's all smooshed in there; it's hard to see. We've had the same sort of effect here with the volume still dropping, of course. So let's just see how things pan out overall. Right now, in terms of the moving averages, what I thought was interesting is, of course, that we're up here at this 50 simple moving average, which is what we kind of thought is a decent enough target to have in mind for us to come up to over the longer term, you know. And as it happens, time has it that it's happening now, that we're in and around this area, so the averages are working out that to be here. You know, it could have been back here when we came up and tested off of the 55 as it happens, or the 50 simple. And what we're looking at here is a test of the 50 simple. I haven't had a death cross over here. This is the white 200 simple. So we're kind of in that point where we kind of have to decide, you know, are we going to come up past this, at which case maybe we could look towards a 200 simple as the next target towards the upside at that 8,000 level test there. Still not fill that gap quite yet on the CMEs to come back down from that point, having gone through a 618 Fibonacci retracement and hit that golden pocket on terms of where we're going. Is that the bullish scenario? Is that what we're looking at? Could well be. You know, that all adds, it's a sort of familiar story, is it not? But then as well, you know, there's the other sort of familiar story of that we've come up, we've tested off the 50 simple, haven't had a death cross in the past. We've come to resistance, we've gone past the 50% retrace. Depends how prices operate. Actually, as I'm speaking here, you can see the prices have dropped down to 7,199. So we're right here, actually looking at the 24-hour chart. You can see right here at the precisely then when I was speaking at the 50% retrace. So you know, shall we see this in the near future break down here below here? Is this just a little sort of fake out of this little miniature triangle that we drew in? Let's go back down to 2 hours and have a look at this sort of thing and see what we're talking about. You know, will we see us coming back into this overall area? Do we need to sort of reshape it, or have I just, you know, been a little bit sort of slow in publishing the video and what I was talking about be playing out just now? Well, let's just see, you know. And I'll go ahead and publish it now, but there's your sort of your target down there. Wouldn't want to rush into any trades past that point. Sort of, I'm not financial advisor, no, that's financial advice, but you know, there's your profit taking line just there, and you'd have to see how things operate in around that area. Of course, should you go down through this area, especially with a degree of conviction, volume coming in, whatnot, next target 6,385. Let's go up to the bigger time frame and kind of be a bit more pessimistic, just for people, just in case, you know, you want to see what could be next. And you've got the 21 moving average in here at 6,850 that we've spoken about. You've got the 6,450 level that we've spoken about. Should those be broken, then you could be looking down to 6,200, and that's where we find the 236, which is the first of our two 236s on the Fibonacci retracements, and you'd be coming an awful long way down there by that point as well anyway. But should those be breaking, then you'd be quite concerned, because we're looking at 5,500. That'd be quite an easy target to look at thereafter, and you know, you'd have broken market structure here overall. We'll be putting in lows definitively, and you know, whatever sort of stuff like that could be happening in terms of this 24-hour trend to the upside being done. And you know, overall it is a weak trend, but that's massively getting carried away. What we're actually looking at right now is just the prices being here at this thing, and we're asking the question. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this video just now, see how it all shapes up in the fullness of time. And I did say at the start, you know, this is quite over eager, this symmetrical triangle. But thankfully the prices did the sort of the exciting stuff for us. So let's go ahead and see what you all think. Let me know in the comments down below what you're sort of thinking about in terms of the market. It's been good to hear. Some people have done that, like for instance Peter recently, so cheers, shout out to you for that. And yeah, so thanks very much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. If you hit that like button, then you're a superstar. If you've not subscribed already, then subscribe for daily Bitcoin technical analysis, and of course a few other altcoins as well. Check out the channel to see more about that info. Catch you later. Thanks very much for tuning in.